We have the Midseason 105 Guys Awards. You came up with the categories. I love them. Got into the document. I said, all right, now I got to fill these out. But we're recruiting guys, right? That's where it starts for us. So we better start with the freshman of the year or freshman midseason freshman of the year. That's probably a better category for it. But Drew, no surprises here. Who you got?
I think there's really two options, right? It's the two freshman wide receivers. I went with Jeremiah Smith because I've been covering Jeremiah Smith, for 4 or 5 years now. I feel like I have to talk about him all the time. I know where you went with your answer, but to me, Jeremiah Smith, every single week, Cooper, he seems to do something where your jaw continues to drop. He always exceeds expectations. It's the highlight reel catches. I call him a bully at the catch point. And Cooper, I'll make a bold prediction here. I don't think we've seen the breakout game for Jeremiah Smith just yet. I know he scored 6 touchdowns. I know all that. He's going to go off one of these weekends here over the next few months and really cement himself as that guy, in my opinion.
They got Oregon coming up. That seems to be the game where they're going to need Jeremiah Smith's best game, his fastball, especially on the road in Eugene, going up against a pretty testy secondary and an Oregon defense that's playing pretty well. Drew, it's just like every time you turn on a game at Jeremiah Smith, there's another one-handed catch. He's making it look easy. I feel like people are already like, okay, we know what this guy's about. He's a household name. How about the other one? I'm going to go with a guy in my territory, Ryan Williams. No shocker here, 19 receptions, over 540 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns. Drew, those two were pretty similar, not similar players, but the production has been similar. I was talking to some people just around Tuscaloosa. They are so happy to have this kid and what he's meant to that Alabama team already as a true freshman. And I get it. Everybody knows he's 17 years old. But, Drew, you could argue he's Alabama's best player, and that's the most talented roster in college football, according to the 24/7 Sports Talent Team Composite. So Ryan Williams, a day one dude. He is my midseason freshman of the year. Jeremiah Smith, the other. Drew, I think if you were to tell us that these would be our picks before week 1 of the college football season started, we'd be pretty happy about that.
Absolutely, given where we ranked them. All right, here's my question. If you couldn't have picked one of these receivers, do you have a runner-up? Is there a name that comes out there? I probably would toss out Dylan Raiola, the Nebraska true freshman quarterback. I think he's kind of been better than expected. I know it hasn't been pretty at all times, but look at the record. Look at what he's been able to do from the jump there in Lincoln.
I mean, you ask a question and then you answer it. Dylan Raiola is my answer too. Josiah Thompson.
Okay.
I'm listening. What do you got?
I just was wondering if you had one. Josiah Thompson.
Yeah, no, Josiah Thompson, Dylan Raiola, KJ Bolden as well. We talked about him earlier in the show. I mean, he's been dynamite. They obviously put a lot on that safety position. All right, moving on. Heisman midseason award, Drew. I'll take the T-box here because you know who I'm going to pick. I mean, we got money on it, right? Cam Ward, Miami. This guy's just kind of in cruise control, and they needed him to step it up a notch against Cal because you look up, they're down 35-10 in the third quarter. Miami behind Cam Ward. They then go on to outscore Cal 21-3 in the fourth quarter, 35-53, 437 yards, 2 touchdowns. Drew, I just feel like Cam Ward has had 2 Heisman moments already, one against Virginia Tech, one against Cal. This guy's built different. And the other thing about Cam Ward is I don't think we've seen his best yet. We know how he can operate, how he can improvise. But the way that he played from the structure of the pocket against Cal, that's what I want to see more of. And when he improvises, I think he needs to learn, hey, every now and then, it's okay to get on base. Take a single, take a double. You don't have to hit a triple or a home run every time you break the pocket. That's going to be the next step evolution of Cam Ward. But I love where Miami's at. This is why they got this guy. They're undefeated ACC play, Drew. They're in the thick of it. I think you got to like him coming out of the ACC because they got this guy here. That would be my pick.
If he threw for 437 yards, you don't think this guy is playing his best yet? Are we getting a 500-yard performance?
Worst game that he's played all season, in my opinion. And that is just high praise because that's a standard that I think we expect. And he's got room to improve. That's what I saw on the tape.
All right, well, I'm going with Superman. It's a bird, it's a plane. It's Travis Hunter, Colorado wide receiver, cornerback. I don't know if we want to have that debate about what position he is. Cooper, this is the most electric player in all of college football. I think he is legitimately making a case for wide receiver 1 in the upcoming NFL draft. and cornerback 1 in the upcoming NFL draft. And it's funny because if you go back to him coming out of high school and we ranked him number 1 overall, we said the same thing. Legit CB1, legit wide receiver 1. This guy does not leave the field. And Cooper, having been on the sidelines, on site for Colorado's win at UCF, the fact that Travis Hunter is able to put up these type of numbers, make the highlight-worthy plays in that environment, I mean, it's just amazing to me. And you remove him from that roster, how good is Colorado? I don't think it's a team that is pushing for a bowl game, and I know some people won't see it that way, but he is the difference maker. Again, he is Superman.
It's pretty hard to put into context what he does every week at the corner receiver position, whatever they ask him to do. He does it, and I think people are a little bit numb to it. Maybe that's not fair to him, but this guy has a great case to potentially go as a number 1 pick. Drew, can't go wrong with either of those. I think we need to mention Ashton Jeanty at Boise State and what he's done already. Rushed for over 1,000 yards at the midseason point of the college football season. He is an absolute dog and will be the first running back taken in this upcoming NFL draft. All right, Drew, I love this category coming up next. Remember me? You remember me? Question mark. Channeling Kirk Cousins here. But former blue chip recruit that has finally panned out. I love your pick, Drew. You go first here.
Jacorey Brooks, former 5-star wide receiver. He was at Alabama, transfers into Louisville. You look up and see what he has done this season. 25 catches, 489 yards, 6 touchdowns. Also, Cooper, I loved Louisville's uniforms over the weekend, that little red with the gold in the logo. Average depth of target, 20.4. That ranks first in the ACC this season. We like this guy a lot coming out. He started off at Booker T. Washington. I remember watching him when he was an 8th grader, a young pup. It was kind of like the same thing with Jeremiah Smith. He goes to IMG Academy, ends up at Alabama. You're like, this guy's going to go in the first round. That's what every Alabama wide receiver does. Doesn't kind of figure it out, takes a while to find his bearings, has to leave, and now, I don't know. I think there's a chance he might play his way into a potential day 2 type of selection, pro ready size. And again, he can create explosive plays, 10 of them so far this season.
I like that one. What do you think has clicked with him? Just in terms of the environment change from Alabama to Louisville.
I think he's finally got a quarterback that can get it to him in that deeper third. The other thing that always has stood out, again, is that kind of that body control and the concentration. He's made some circus grabs for a big guy this year. I think that's what it is. The offensive staff there at Louisville, they understand what they have in him. So that's what I would say. Who you got? Who's your Remember Me award?
Do you remember Big Tegra Tshabola, who showed up at the All-American Bowl a couple years ago, and my jaw was on the floor. I was like, who is this guy? We knew who he was, but I was excited to see him. Drew, we thought tackle coming out, but he has emerged the last 5 games in the season, starting every game for Ohio State at guard. And, man, I thought his last game against Iowa was his best game. PFF, highest graded performance as well. But you turn on the tape, Drew, he has found a home there. I love him as a run blocker. He can pull. He can get to the second level. He's an athletic kid, big bully. I think it's taken him some time to kind of redefine his body. I think it's taken some time with Ohio State to maybe kind of mix around some things and say, hey, this guy's going to be an interior guy for us long term. But I love the way that he's fitting in right now, especially in that dynamic run scheme under Chip Kelly. Big Tegra, to me, Drew, I think he needs to come back for another year. But if he can do that, we're looking at a day 2 potential draft pick. I think we had him kind of in that range as well, coming out number 36. It's been a nice revelation here on a guy that I was pretty worried about because I was high on Tegra Tshabola, and I love what I've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Love that pick. All right, biggest surprise. I'm in the driver's seat now. Give me your biggest surprise so far of the season.
Indiana. Smoking Kurt Signetti. I mean, this guy's a man, dude. I was going back watching his press conference from when he got hired, and he's talking about I win. Google me. I love that type of confidence. Now they're 6-0. I mean, you're looking at Indiana. First time they're 6-0 since 1967. Drew, you're looking at the remainder of their schedule. Nebraska, Washington at home. They're on the road at Michigan State. They have Michigan at home, at Ohio State, Purdue. There's a chance they're in the playoffs. They're 11-1, 10-2. This guy's unreal, man. From the job that he did at James Madison to the job that he's done at Indiana, credit to him and his staff. But dude, this guy is a fire breather. I'm all in on Curt Cignetti.
I love that pick too, Cooper. And you look at that roster, not a lot of blue chip recruits, and we've seen them kind of get more and more involved with some of these high profile recruitments. They push for a college football playoff spot. That roster is only going to get better. For me, Cooper, I'm going with FSU's tumble from preseason top 10 to 1-5. I don't think anyone could have envisioned this. It's like a 100-year storm, a 100-year flood. Like, are we ever going to see this rise and fall ever again? We don't really need to spend much time on it. We've talked about it at length, but certainly kind of an eyebrow raiser, just what has transpired there in Tallahassee. They're finally rolling with Brock Glenn, the redshirt freshman quarterback. Excited to see what he can do because he might be the arm of the future there in Tallahassee.
All right, up-tempo, 2 awards left. Your coach of the year. Who do you got at the midway point, Drew?
I said it in between commercial breaks. Mario Cristobal at Miami. You just talked at length about Cam Ward. Used to cover Miami. Very familiar with the program. These past 2 games, the one against Virginia Tech, the one against California, if Manny Diaz is coaching them, if Mark Richt is coaching him, Miami is not winning that opportunity. Mario Cristobal gets it done. Cam Ward, you have to get the quarterback there. So for me, it is Mario and what he has done from a roster and talent acquisition standpoint. He's also retained his staff, Shannon Dawson, Lance Guidry, the defensive coordinator. I don't think people have talked enough about keeping those 2 guys there. Tons of continuity in Coral Gables.
All right, give me Brian Vincent, Louisiana Monroe, Drew. You look at ULM, 4-1. This is one of the most difficult jobs in all of college football. Brian Vincent was the interim head coach after Bill Clark left UAB. He got a raw end of the deal. He went 7-6, went to a bowl game. They hired Trent Dilfer. UAB's 5-11 since then. You got to love what Brian Vincent has done at ULM. They're 4-1, coming off a big win against JMU. Real quick, Drew, one-liner on these guys. Coordinator of the year. Midseason so far. Who do you got?
Pittsburgh OC Cade Bell. Panthers are 116th last season in scoring offense and total offense. Now they rank in the top 10 for both categories. They are undefeated. Cade Bell comes over from Western Carolina. He's one of the youngest offensive minds in the game. I think he's going to be a hot name when we get to that coaching carousel. A guy with a ton of ties to the Sunshine State. You think about FSU, Florida, Cade Bell. File that one away for another day.
Shout out Eli Holstein as well. All right, Drew, give me defense coordinator, Tennessee, Tim Banks. Guy's been unbelievable. Vols ranked number 2 in total defense right now. We talked about that evolution a couple of weeks ago. Shout out to him. It's the offense that's got to get it going, believe it or not.